بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawahir Al-Quran, the Juz of the Quran. We have reached in our reading Surah Al-Insan, and Imam Al-Ghazali chose 3 verses only from this surah, the first 3 verses in fact, and we'll read them and we'll try to comment inshallah on these 3 verses and the surah in general. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا وإما كفورا. Is there not a period of time when each human is nothing yet worth mentioning? We'll go back inshallah and we'll comment on this. For indeed we alone created humans from a drop of mixed fluids. Really it's about the sperm and the egg, since we talk about amshaj, nutfatin amshaj. So a sperm from the male and ovum from the female, which form the zygote after fertilization that's really given. In order to test them, to test the human being, so we made them hear and see, and this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We already showed them the way whether they choose to be grateful or ungrateful. The first verse about the human being not existing before existence, that's really of course the case, but first of all the question هل أتى الإنسان, the meaning is indeed there was a time when the human being did not exist. In fact, there is a statement attributed to Qatada rahimahullah, saying that this first verse was like, obviously he said that Adam alayhi salam was the last creature to be created, meaning that the universe was created, everything was created before the creation of the human being, because everything else is. Now I'm adding, hope that it's not a conjecture, that the reason behind trying to explain Qatada's statement, it's everything was created to prepare the setting, if you will, because everything is at the service of the human being in order to fulfill his role in this life as a vicegerent, as a Khalifa. And let's make sure that we understand the Khalifa here is not a reference to the political office that emerged after the Prophet ﷺ passed away. This istikhlaf fil ard, this Khalifa, is about every human being participating in the notion of Khilafah, doing that which is good, wholesome, in the light of revelation in all areas of human activities, be it politics, economics, the social context, or beyond these. So, هل أتى? No, قد أتى. And this is the human being verily did not exist at one point. So it's despite the question form, it's a statement, it is a khabar. In as much as you say to someone, did I not take care of you when you did take care of him? Uh, didn't I visit you? Didn't I do this or that for you? But that's really confirming that which happened. And one might say that the human being not existing at one point. At least it's a reference to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, but this also applies to each one of us because there was one time we did not exist. And it has been said in the books of tafsir. This in the Tabari mentioned that there were those who said that أتى على الإنسان it's this is after a certain existence. Otherwise, it would be said أتى حين قبل أن يخلق, that the human being, if he did exist, then you say أتى على, in some form of existence, meaning that in the case of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, when he was still in the form of the clay form, but before the ruh was breathed into the clay. But also the meaning why this question, obviously to remind the human being that of this state of non-existence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed in the next verse, the senses, the Sami' al-Basir, but really everything, so that he could decipher what's going on in this universe, to ponder, and there will be assumed, of course, that since the Hidayah is mentioned here, that we showed the humanity, the way. Time and again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent prophets and messengers so that the human being would choose to be thankful or to be ungrateful, disbelief really. And this would require also having reason, otherwise, because to interpret even what you hear or what you see, reason is a must in this case. Let me say that when the human being is mentioned in the Qur'an, there is this element of bringing to his attention, reminding him of God's favors, and the tendency to not to live up to expectations, the shortcomings, but also the insan, the origin of the word insan. Typically, people would say that it is from nisyan, and this cannot, of course, be the case. Just remember that the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, this is in Surah Taha, where he said, after he saw the fire at a distance, inni anastu nara, and you'll find, a group of the firefighters, for example. They will never have that stage of uns, feeling good about the seeing fire. In the case of Musa salam, he was leaving Madian after the 8 or 10 years period. The minimum was the 8 years. One can argue in both directions whether he completed 10 or not. But the idea is that he did not follow a known path to him when he reached Madian, and this is why he was seeking guidance. He assumed that human beings set the fire, and that he assumed that they are sitting at the fire, that he could seek guidance. But also, he said we have more than one story of more than one version of the Qur'an. He could bring his family some fire for them to warm up. Obviously, this indicates either a cold night or cold season. But Anisa, he felt comfortable with the human beings, that he assumed that they were there. Of course, this is the burning bush story. There were no other human beings involved. It was him, and of course, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These being Jews, it's the essential human story. The surah itself, that's one section. Really, these 3 verses form the first section, which is about the creation of the human being. And the next section, or if you like, theme, it begins by mentioning the punishment for the disbelievers, and then the details about the virtuous, the good people, al-abrar, who will enjoy the things that have been prepared for them in paradise. إن الأبرار يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا عينا يشرب عباد الله يفجرونها تفجيرا. They are those who fulfill their vows and fear a day of sweeping horror. ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا. This khawf, I think Imam Al-Ghazali mentions in Kitab al-Raja wal-Khawf, in Ihya Ulumuddin. This is the book of hope and fear, that there is a certain degree of fear that is commendable. Too much, and that would prevent you. The fear would prevent you from performance, from doing your fulfilling your duties. And too little of it, and you might not be motivated to straighten, to do the right thing. But the khawf, the khashya, should lead to wara', which is abandoning all that which is haram. Taqwa would be abandoning part of that which is halal for fear of crossing the red lines and to the area to that which is haram, which is forbidden. The same people who fulfill their vows and they fear the day of judgment. Yawman, this is nakira, but really it's known. That day, the day, if you will. What else they do, and this is something remarkable really about the Quran, especially when you compare what's going on in the world. They do give food despite their desire for it. They, especially when they are themselves are in need, they give it to the poor, to the orphan, miskina wa yatima. And the third thing is the captive, enemy captives. So they feed the captives. And this is something really beautiful. And let me say that there are Islamic ethics governing human activity in every respect. How we deal with animals, how we deal with the universe, the environment, how we deal with fellow human beings. And in the case of conflict, war, etc., if the enemy ends up a prisoner of war, then it's your duty to feed this enemy, remembering that despite all the pain that we go through at this moment in the face of the genocide in the Gaza Strip, we still have duties toward captives. And let me say that we should never cross the line. We should never harm what Islam prohibited. You just avoid those who, the children, for example, the elderly, monks, priests, those who are considered they are in their own monasteries, for example, or places of worship. But and in general, when we say non-combatants, really, it will be a sad state of affairs when we, as Muslims, cross the line. We shouldn't. One should, no collective punishment. Is obviously that's part of the. You don't kill animals unless for food. You don't burn or drown farmland, or no collective punishment. That's really the bottom line. Knowing that the state of war should be avoided as much as possible, because the Quran says that every time they ignite the fire of war, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will extinguish it. And the permission to defend oneself in the Quran is this passive voice, udina, and that would soften really the permission. That's still part of the Islamic worldview. We feed you, all these three, we feed you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying to themselves, we feed you only for the sake of Allah, seeking neither reward nor thanks from you. We fear from our Lord the horrible, distressful day. That's the day of of judgment, and you try to change. You try to avoid the. There are only two destinations: either it's paradise or hellfire. And when you do all these good things, you are, asking Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to destine you to paradise and Inshallah, this is a dua, and I would say Ameen. So Allah will deliver them from the horror of that day and grant them radiance and joy. فقاهم الله شر ذلك اليوم ولقاهم نضرة وسرورا وجزاهم بما صبروا جنة وحريرا, and rewarded them for their perseverance with a garden in paradise and garments of silk. Remember that in silk is prohibited for Muslim men in this life. Gold is prohibited for Muslim men in this life. These are lawful for women, and silk, unless it is intended for use because of some skin disease, that's a different story. In paradise, they will be reclining on couches, on canopied couches, never seeing scorching heat nor bitter cold. In fact, never seeing the sun. I think it's fair to say that the sun would have exhausted its role. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها. Ultimately, this source of energy, even if you talk about astrophysics, that one day it will run out of fuel. Not very close, but it doesn't have to be that kind of end. The universe as we know it has to come to an end. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها. If you ask them about the mountains, different verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will blow up these mountains. قل يا نسف وربي نسفا. In a different context. كالعهن المنفوش, so that is going to be like fluffy wool. I understand this to be the end of gravity as we know it in a different context. يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض والسماوات. The earth, the universe, the heavens will be changed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa'alam, when we are resurrected, will be equipped, prepared. We will be prepared for an eternal life. Being on the ara'ik, in a different context in the Qur'an, people will be like brothers on facing each other on couches, on beds, if you will. But before that, وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِم مِّنْ غِلٍّ, all the negative energies, all the hatred, all the negative feelings towards other, all of this will be uprooted. There's no such a thing in paradise. No negative feelings. So those who could change their hearts as much as possible, without hatred towards others, without backbiting, without gossiping, all of these things are about the others. When you take care of your ego in the sense of no more egoistic tendencies, feelings, positions vis-a-vis the others, it seems as if one is getting a taste, approximating that state in paradise when no such hard feelings, and these feelings would consume you on the inside. That's the problem with it. The garden's shade will be right above them, and its fruit will be made very easy to reach. The fruits, the clusters, at will. That's really it, the understanding. They will be waited on with silver vessels and cups of uh, crystal, uh, crystal, crystalline silver, filled precisely as desired. Maybe it's a reference to um, the قدروها تقديرها is about the also the size of these cups, um, and they will drink uh, from a glass flavored with ginger زنجبيل ويسقون فيها كأسا كان مزاجها زنجبيلا from a spring there called Salsabil. Still part of the of what they will be gifted with. The state of their felicity would include being served, waited on by eternal youths. If you saw them, you'd think they were scattered pearls. And you looked around, if you looked around, you would see indescribable. Basically, you'll see bliss and vast kingdom. Vast because elsewhere in the Qur'an, the area of paradise is described as being as big as the عرضها, its width, it's like the width of the heavens and earth. So it's going to be really vast in terms of clothing. Again, they will be dressed in garments of fine green silk and rich brocade, and adorned with bracelets of silver, and their Lord will give them a purifying drink. Purified. If you speak about the wine in heaven, it does not intoxicate you. It does not intoxicate. And in this life, alcohol is described in Islam as the mother of all evil. So many evil things happen because of drunkenness. They attempted in the United States to outlaw alcohol 100 years ago, literally, and smuggling and illegal production of alcohol went on, and many policemen were killed in fights with the criminals, and then they allowed it again, and they put ultimately some restrictions, such as setting the drinking age limit. It begins at 18 years of age, so you'd have to complete that. And then some states raised the age of drinking to 21, so a bar would be prohibited from serving anyone, depends which state, but that did not really solve the problems associated with that. And one of the big things is the drunk driving in the United States, and many people get killed because of that. So it's not the same. You have the same name. This is why when we speak about the all these things in paradise, we speak about that which is it brings the idea closer, but it is still undescribable. فيها ما لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على البشر. In it, there are things that no eye had seen, no ear had heard, and no heart even contemplated. Nothing that in reality it's going to be different. This is the reward from your Lord, and they will be told, "All this is surely a reward for you. Your striving has been appreciated." then it addresses the Prophet ﷺ. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ تَنزِيلًا. Indeed, it is we who have revealed the Qur'an to you, meaning addressing the Prophet ﷺ. Tanzila means stages and descending really to the because the Quran was revealed all of it to the lower heaven, of course to the preserved tablet, to the lower heaven, and then to the Prophet ﷺ in stages and parts over the course of 23 years, subhanAllah. What is required? So be patient with your Lord's decree and do not yield to any evildoer. Do not follow, do not obey, do not yield to any evildoer or staunch disbeliever from among them. فاصبر لحكم ربك ولا تطع منهم آثما أو كفورا. And this is exactly our problem. Our problem today. We follow the non-believers almost in every aspect of their way of life. The Prophet ﷺ prophesied about this, saying that even if they enter the hole of a lizard, you would do the same. That's the blind imitation of the non-Muslims. We shouldn't, of course. We know we should know better, really. Had we read the Qur'an and Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, we should not have followed them. It should be the other way around. Our path is based on justice, principled. International relations for us as Muslims are based on principles derived from the Quran and the Sunnah. Their way of their foreign policy is based on interest, their own interests. There's a big difference. The realpolitik in the West. But the problem is really following a materialist capitalist, the brutal, crude sense is bad. And always remember the name of your Lord morning and evening, and prostrate before Him, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during part of the night, and glorify Him long at night. One can remember the Surah Al-Muzammil, which really the Imam Al-Ghazali skipped, but it's about really praying at night. It's about Qiyam al-Layl. Those who the non-believers, they love this life. They love this world, the one that is present before their eyes, and they neglect the weighty day ahead of them. إن هؤلاء يحبون العاجلة ويذرون وراءهم يوما ثقيلا. Yes, there's a reminder here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them, perfected their physical form, strength. There is certain strength, really. And if you notice, the very last 4 verses would include mentioning, each one of them mentions al-Mashia, the divine will, and also a reference to people willing but still being connected to the divine will. For example, وَإِذَا شِئْنَا بَدَّلْنَا أَمْثَالَهُمْ تَبْدِيلًا فَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ إِلَى رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. And the very last verse really, يُدْخِلُ مَن يَشَاءُ فِي رَحْمَتِهِ وَالظَّالِمِينَ أَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله إن الله كان عليما حكيما. So this I've noticed these 4 verses having reference to divine will, and one should modify her behavior according to divine will as much as possible to the best of our understanding, based on the Qur'an and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thus we reach the end of Surah Al-Insan. The next one will be Surah Al-Mursalat, and Imam Ghazali rahimahullah chose 8 verses until then. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.